there taking the drug test for his brother.
Do you honestly think that somebody's going to look that closely? You're a Klitschko. It's close.
Yeah.
Hey, you look like Vladimir, not Vitali. Uh, uh. And then they
Possible.
just pretend not to speak English,
That's
but they speak
that's a
14 but they all speak 14 languages. What?
Leo Santa Cruz, Abner Mares, the rematch, Lee,
Yeah, I saw that.
September 9th. Great fight. First one was a majority decision to Leo Santa Cruz. Both fighters have been very successful since seeing each other in 2015. Santa Cruz getting his rematch victory over Carl Frampton, and Mares being a big time underdog, defeating Jesus Cuellar for the WBO
You
number
actually
one.
said Quaylar correct today.
Well, I'm trying, bro. Damn it. You should see how much I practice in the mirror. Not
You
just
got
playing.
Stanima knocked down.
Man, be quiet. Guerrero, he's back. Robert is back.
Yes.
Omar Figueroa. I didn't write the date, people. Sorry about that, but it's like in 2 months.
It's
That's
in
all I can tell.
Brooklyn, isn't it?
Probably. That's where
I,
all PBC fights
I
are.
believe it is for
I don't.
everybody listening. I kind of kept up on it. I am fascinated with the destruction of his career.
Yeah, he made good money. Robert made a lot of good money with the PBC.
Yes, and
So,
as he eats through a tube for the rest of his
oh,
adult life.
he's not there. Don't say that. If you might be right 20 years from
Have
now,
you
but don't say that yet.
all right.
Well, remember when we're still doing this like in
Dude,
our 50s.
I went to the boxing expo. I saw the old fighters. There are only a few of them who have their shit together, man. I'm just being honest.
It's a rough sport. No, and Lee, that's why, listen, that's why I'm a fan of it. And I know that's why a lot of other people are a fan. These men do things that normal people can't do. And this is why when you have a situation like Kell Brook multiple times, it's hard for me to lay down my hard-earned money to watch that. I'm
But
not really a fan of someone who stays down on one knee. And now that's just my opinion, right? No one could get mad at me. That's what I want to spend my money on to see. And if a fighter wants to do that, that's fine. A fighter can do that all they want. I'm not calling him a bitch. I'm not saying a pussy, nothing like that. But I'm not paying for that. That's just all. I watch this sport because these men, I believe, are the best athletes in the world, and they do things that normal people can't do. That's why I'm a fan of boxing.
yeah, there you go.
So, gone to the next one. This is one of those guys that does things that normal people can't do. Francisco Vargas, not undefeated, has losses, but I'll watch him every single time because he fights to the death, Lee. Francisco Vargas has surgery on both eyebrows. Now, look, I know that doesn't sound good, but I will pay to watch this guy. Wants to come back in November. I got some advice for Vargas. Stay out a little bit longer. When you're having surgery on both of your eyebrows because of a history of getting cuts, come back in 2018. Let those things heal properly. Some Lee are saying that's what happened to Kell Brook last night. They're actually blaming Eddie Hearn. They're saying Eddie Hearn brought him back too fast, made him
No,
lose too much weight.
no.
And that's what they're saying. I'm just
He
giving.
was doing his job. You know what? Here's the truth about Eddie Hearn. That we can all talk the talk and look to point the fingers. Eddie Hearn legit is making fights. That's what I got to say about Eddie Hearn. I got nothing bad to say about a man who makes fights. And
Yeah.
trust me, he was emotionally invested in Kell Brooks last night. I watched it. You want to see the biggest fan of Brooks at that fight? It was Eddie Hearns. He's
Well, I'm
sitting
sure
middle ring.
he was one fight away. He's one fight away from possibly a $15-20 million payday. So Francisco Vargas, stay out a little bit longer than November. All right, next one, Lee. You ready for this?
Yeah.
The referee and the judges have been announced for Ward Kovalev 2. Okay, coming in as the referee, I think this is big because you got to look at all of these factors on who takes an advantage for in the rematch.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you the first one, the referee is going to be Tony Weeks. And in my opinion, that's way in the favor of Klitschko. Kovalev. And I'll tell you why. Tony Weeks has stopped many fights with the guys on their feet. He is a fighter that stands behind. If I see his eyes roll or if I see his hands come down and he's in a vulnerable position, I will stop the fight. And he's done it. So look at Kovalev. That falls into the favor of Kovalev more than it does Andre Ward. Your opinion?
I don't think the refs or any of that are going to have any impact on the fight. I think what that whole fight is about the first 3 rounds. And after that, yeah, maybe the referees will come into play, but I think Kovalev's going to try to stop this thing in 3 rounds, period.
And well, if I'm Kovalev's team, I'm going to let him know that if Andre Ward gets hurt and goes to the ropes, unleash it all, because there's a possibility Tony Weeks is going to jump in and then say after the fight, I felt I had to save his life. He said it before. He's done this before. This is who Tony Weeks is, from Las Vegas. They have that rule in their book, and he abides by it. If he sees a fighter in a vulnerable situation on his feet, there is no standing 8 count. I will wave it off. So now we go to the judges. The first judge they announced was Glenn Feldman. To give you an example, he was there for Alvarez over Chavez. He had it 120-108. He was there for Santa Cruz over Frampton. He had it 113-115 for Santa Cruz. Very good score. That was a close fight. The one that stands out to me is he had Wangek 112-114 over Roman Gonzalez. Now that, Lee, he went against the grain, right? Roman Gonzalez is the HBO fighter there. He's the guy with the momentum, yet he gave it to the underdog. So that works in the favor of Andre Ward, in my opinion. Andre Ward is the one who had the close victory last time. The judges gave him the swing rounds. This guy doesn't look like he plays favoritism with that one scorecard. And these are just their last 3 biggest matches. But to me, that one stood out the most because there was a lot of people shocked that Roman Gonzalez lost that fight. Steve Weisfeld is the second judge. He had, this one is the one that stands out to me, but he had Chavez losing to Alvarez 120-108. He had he had Cruz over Mares 113-115. The one that stands out to me, Pacquiao over Vargas 113-114. I don't know what the hell the guy was watching that night, but that's a very iffy scorecard. That's Dave Moretti. The last one is Steve Weinsfield. He's been in a lot of big fights. Crawford versus Diaz, Triple G versus Jacobs. He had Triple G winning 115-112. The one that stood out to me, Broner versus Granados. He had Broner up 97-93. That fight was a lot closer than that. So another Steve Weisfeld, another judge you're going to have to look at on a controversial. Don't know what he was watching that night, because no one really had Broner up by that many points after that Granados fight. But those are your 3 judges going into the most anticipated rematch of this year, Kovalev Ward versus 2. Yeah, I would call it a split. Lee.
I don't think it's ever going to make it to a scorecard.
Wow.
It's not.
Hey, and you know what? I can't argue that with Tony Weeks being in there. I really can't. Because if you're correct about Kovalev just going full steam this time, not backing up, he is going to have Ward in vulnerable situations. Ward likes to play the inside game. He likes staying on the ropes. If Kovalev can rock him for 15 seconds, they might stop the fight. Ward don't even have to touch the canvas. Tony Weeks will say, I saved his life.
There you go. Next story.
Oh, I put it down like there was no more.
Oh, you're still one huge story away.
Okay, well, let me keep going then. I got some. Miguel, you guys want to know how boxing's doing good? Even last night, Showtime 2017, it's back. Let me give you an example of how we know boxing's back on the come up. Miguel Burchelt, Takashi Miura, Miguel Cotto versus Kamagai were both picked up by Box Nation this week. So both of those fights won't only be played in America, They'll be played over there in the UK. And that's pretty big for both of those, especially Miguel Burchelt and Taki Mira. Probably were never expecting money from Box Nation when they signed. So that's a very good sign for boxing. It's still on the rise in 2017. Garcia Broner, we talked about that earlier. They're looking at July 29th, Barclays Center. Garcia and Broner would both be meeting at the 140 division. Excuse me. Which is interesting in itself, Lee, given the fact that Terrence Crawford's there. And that comes, and I'm going to bring it full circle. Lee,
yes,
I believe the next big American fight is going to be Terrence Crawford versus Errol-Spence. If Errol-Spence stays at the welterweight division and clears that division out, I see Terrence Crawford moving up. Terrence Crawford.
You think in your mind Bob Arum is going to make a fight with the PBC?
If they do this right, the timetable that these guys are on, they could meet 4 years down the line, 3 years down the line. So it's another one. It's going to be another one of those where they're going to milk the cow as much as they can until you have two undefeated American fighters there that are going to probably be unified champions. Okay, I clearly have Terrence Crawford over any champ in the welterweight division. I clearly have Spence over Keith Thurman right now. If they were to meet, I think Spence is a little bit too big for Keith Thurman. Granted, I know the chin situation. I know about the flaw of Spence's defense, but I don't have him an underdog in any matchup against another champion at welterweight. So right now, these two are on the timeline to both be undisputed, undefeated champions in their divisions. I see that as the next big fight. So to give you another example, we're talking about the viewership of Spence. He did 6 million. He's going to do 1 million last night. Terrence Crawford just did 1 million views on his fight with Felix Diaz, who was relatively unknown to the general boxing fan. Terrence Crawford still brought in over 1 million views. He blew away all the other fights last week. Fox Sports, Showtime. I don't even think Fox Sports did half of the views HBO did. And the Showtime card came in at half. They did around 500,000, I believe, views. But HBO, Terrence Crawford clearly dominated. So right now, Terrence Crawford, Spence, they're even pushing the biggest numbers in both divisions. Mikey Garcia, if he moves up and does defeat Adrian Broner, he's going to be right back into that circle that he was trying to avoid at the lightweight division, the Terrence Crawford opponents list. I think he puts his name right back in there. And now you're right. Top Rank and PBC, hard for them to come together. They have, but there could be it could be hard to get that fight there. But Terrence Crawford is fighting one of those guys, and I think if Al Heyman and Bob Arum are smart about it, the bigger fight potentially is going to be Spence versus Crawford, meaning Garcia might get thrown to Crawford a lot earlier than he would want. But yes, Garcia moving up to junior welterweight, Adrian Broner coming down to junior welterweight to have their fight.
Good. It's good.
Okay.
I'm not going to agree because you just keep thinking that Terrence Crawford is somehow magically going to cross. Like, Bob Arum's not going to do it.
This is years down the line, though. Lee, you got to remember these.
Down the line, Bob Arum will be dead, and
then Top Rank, his son his son-in-law will continue. The ball will never stop rolling. These two guys are on a timetable right now to have a huge fight about 3 years from now. I see 8 titles being involved. I see the pound for pound ranking being involved. It's all they have to do is keep winning. And right now, the opponents they have lined up, they're the favorites in all of the fights. So the timetable is correct. The two bosses just need to sit down and work on numbers as they get closer to that fight. But those two.
The problem is Al Heyman's one of those bosses.
It's worked. It's worked before. Lee, I'm just calling it how it is. These two look like they're going to be the biggest draws. I see them potentially one day having to fight each other. So. And I think that is it for mine.
All right. Well, then we end on this note. Of course, it's Memorial Day weekend, so
Did I get the biggest story? You told me.
No, I've got it on the screen.
Okay,
Don't
there you go.
worry. I'm going to read it.
All right.
First and foremost, because I want to close it. Do you want to comment